A much-awaited decision today from the U.S. Supreme Court on racial gerrymandering. In a 5-4 ruling, the court upheld current state and congressional districts in Texas. A lower federal court had found Republicans intentionally drew the districts to dilute minority voting clout. We'll get the full details later in the program. The funeral for the black teenager shot to death by a white policeman near Pittsburgh was held today. Antoine Rose died last week. Mourners lined up outside a school for the services. Rose was shot when he ran from a vehicle linked to an earlier shooting. Meanwhile, there were protests in Minneapolis after police killed 31-year-old Thurman Belvins Jr. on Saturday. They say that he fired a handgun into the air and the ground. Some witnesses say he was unarmed. A state of emergency has been declared across Northern California as a wind-driven wildfire burns out of control. The Pawnee fire erupted Saturday and spread across a dry rural area north of San Francisco. It has destroyed 12 buildings and prompted evacuation orders for at least 3,000 people. Farther north, another fire has burned multiple homes and businesses and threatens 200 more. Warm weather and calm seas have set off a new wave of migrant sailings from North Africa to Europe. Spain says that it rescued more than 1,400 people over the last 3 days. But one rescue vessel carrying 234 migrants was still stranded off Malta. Today, Italy has refused to let it dock. Italy's Interior Minister Matteo Salvini was in Libya today, proposing new migrant checkpoints to stop the flow into Europe.
We believe that the problems of Libya must be solved and faced in Libya, and not in other situations or other European capitals. Reception and identification centers must be set up south of Libya, at Libya's external borders, to help both Libya and Italy to block the migration we are both suffering.
Separately, the Associated Press reports that Algeria's government sent 13,000 migrants into the Sahara Desert in the past 14 months to stop them from heading north to Europe. Video showed hundreds walking away from buses. The migrants say many have perished. Jordan says that it will not take in some 17,000 Syrians who have fled new fighting in their country. Syrian government forces backed by Russian airstrikes are pushing into Daraa province. The first anti-government protests began there in 2011. Iran's capital, large-scale protests have broken out for a second day over the country's economic struggles. Cell phone video showed crowds in front of parliament today. Police answered with tear gas in a bid to disperse the demonstrators. Similar protests in Iran spread to 75 cities and towns last December and January. In Nigeria, mass burials began today after at least 86 people died in violence between Muslim herders and Christian farmers. Footage from Sunday showed people waving machetes amid overturned vehicles and smoke in the distance. Women and children ran away with whatever they could carry. Back in this country, motorcycle maker Harley-Davidson says that it will shift some production from U.S. plants to overseas in order to avoid European tariffs. The EU imposed levies last week to answer President Trump's tariffs on European steel and aluminum. Harley-Davidson sold almost 40,000 bikes in the EU last year. On Wall Street, stocks sank on reports that the Trump administration might limit high-tech business with China. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 328 points to close at 24,252. It had been down well over 500 points earlier. The Nasdaq fell 160 points, that's 2%, and the S&P 500 gave up 37. And for the first time, a prescription medicine made from marijuana is going on sale in the U.S. The Food and Drug Administration today approved Epidiolex. It's made by GW Pharmaceuticals of Britain. It can reduce epileptic seizures, but it does not contain THC, which is the ingredient in marijuana that makes users high. Still to come on the NewsHour, we follow 2 immigrant families making their way to the U.S. The Supreme Court weighs in on election maps. Turkey's president consolidates power with an election victory, and much more.